Okay, so we'll begin. Very important Mishnah in Pirkei Avot Perek Bet. Hu haya omer. We're still talking about Hillel, giving us advice what we should not pursue and what we should pursue. What's worth our time and effort and what's worthless. People make this mistake all the time. They have their priorities mixed up. They put so much time and they invest so much effort in things that really will not bring them happiness. It will only bring them worries and more trouble. People think that certain things are worth their time, and they are misled to believe that certain things will bring them security. But in the end, all the security that they were supposed to have for more money, for more possessions, is only going to give them more aggravations. So this is a very important Mishnah that is applicable today, even more so than before, because today the average person has more possessions than they have in the past. So this is a Mishnah about excesses, about too much of anything. There is a saying in Yiddish, "Jede Sache, was zu viel, ist nicht gut." Anything which is too much, which is excessive, is no good, except for Torah. Too much money, too much beauty, too much of anything is a source of problems. Except for Torah, of course. Torah, tzedakah, mitzvot. Too much of anything can be very difficult to deal with. And that is how he begins here to make a list of those items that are too much, lead to all sorts of troubles. One of them has to do with ta'avot. Ta'avot in general means desires, but there are different kinds of desires. The 5 basic desires is food, possessions, women, honor, and attention. Attention, especially in the latter part of one's life, when a person is already old, he wants people to attend to him. This is what the commentaries say. Pretty much you have various ta'avot, various desires that people pursue, that they enjoy, that they want to have throughout their life, different stages. Whereas in the earliest stages of our life, we pursue certain things. Later on, we may not pursue it as much, but something else will take its place. At every stage in one's life, there's something else that interests us. Ta'avot, however, in general, the biggest problem with ta'avot, desires, is that they never end. You think you have something and you're finally happy that you acquired it, but all of a sudden you want more. You just had a nice computer, and now they tell you you have to get the latest one, the newest gadget. And that's just with technology, with gadgets. But with money, it's a bigger problem, because the rabbis tell us money is never ending. The ta'ava of money is never ending. Whereas with food, you ate and you're full. That's why I don't understand why in Persian weddings they eat so much, and then again at 12 o'clock they eat again. They ate, before the chuppah. Then how could you eat so much? Anyway.
It's like diabetic people.
Yeah.
Then the sugar go up.
That's exactly what I was going to say next. There are certain foods actually that, because of the sugar content, it's the sugar, I believe, that's what I'm told, that brings more cravings. Is that what you were saying? It brings more craving. You want to eat more. In other words, had you not had the sugar, then you would be happy, you would be satisfied. So it's the sugar in the certain foods that is leading people to want more and more. So it's becoming like an addiction, not just a ta'ava. In other words, it's a desire, and most desires, if we knew the limit, they may be okay. I mean, we're not supposed to be nezirim, where we abstain from everything. The Torah wants us to enjoy life, including going on vacation. There's nothing wrong with that. Going for some fresh air, changing surroundings, and having some enjoyment. Eating good food. Rabbis tell us, make sure you taste all the fruit you can. Hashem created beautiful fruit. If you can try them out, try them out. Otherwise, Bashamayim, they're going to ask you, they're going to demand of you, why didn't you try all the beautiful fruits that Hashem made in this world? Made a beracha, made a shehiyanu on them. It depends, of course, on one's outlook and how he looks at these things. But if one does it for the right reasons, then enjoy it, as long as it's with the proper limit. Yes?
Even certain fruits that are mixed, like last week I had a a velvet apricot, which is a red apricot, which I'd never seen.
Good, why not?
But even though that there's no issue with was it the shatnez or the issue?
No.
with
We cannot graft fruit. The Torah does not allow us to graft, to mix, right? To graft, you understand what that means? There are two different types of fruit, whether by the seed or through the branch. And with certain food items like grapes, you can't even grow them close to wheat. And certain things cannot be grown together very in close proximity, even though that's not called grafting, it's similar. So that's a hook that the Torah forbids for us. But if a goy did it, that which was produced by that is not a asur for us. We can eat nectarines today. Supposedly nectarine is a grafted fruit from a plum and a peach. And I think pomelo may be also. I'm not sure.
It's a pomelo.
You haven't seen a pomelo? It looks like a big grapefruit, but it's a mixture of. It looks like a mixture of a grapefruit and an orange, which I think it is. It's sweeter, yeah.
So Rabbi, do you say shechianu on it, or you don't say?
Well, once a fruit has grown, and it grows once a year, you don't see it a whole year, pretty much. It's a fruit that comes back every year. Say shechianu on it, sure.
Even though it's grafted.
Yeah, it's not. Well, yeah. If it was grafted now, that would be a problem because somebody just committed something, against the Torah. But for the goyim don't have that prohibition. Remember, it's a prohibition for us to do. Yeah. So anyway, enjoy the things that Hashem created in this world, but make sure you do so with a limit. In other words, understanding that excesses of any kind are not healthy. Forget about that this is a tava, that it's not something so nice and beautiful. But it's also unhealthy to eat so much. And a lot of people, because of the obesity, they're having high blood pressure, they're having more and more diabetics because of that, because of the wrong diets, eating too much and so forth. So not only is it not good, it's also not healthy. And in the end, he tells us, marbe basar. Let's take an example of basar. He's talking about food in general, but especially meat. And perhaps he chose meat because too much meat is not even healthy. But it could be anything. But marbe basar, people like meat. So meat is something that people may take more than what they should. He says, what are you doing? In the end, marbe basar marbe rima. You're just feeding the worms in the grave. When that individual who's been eating so much is going to be buried, it's going to supply a lot of food for the worms for a long, long time. So ultimately, what are you doing with all that belly, with all that meat? I mean, what do you gain from it? It's not going to make a person stronger. On the contrary, it's going to weaken him over time if he grows very corpulent, full of meat. So it's not good, it's not healthy. And in the end, he's telling us what's the to'elet. Besides being unhealthy, he says, what's the to'elet, what's the benefit of it if what you're doing is going to be fed to the tola'im. Rima ve'tola'ah. So it can also be expensive, by the way. So a person should think twice. All this food that I'm eating, a person goes to a wedding, he sees a smorgasbord, he sees the first course, the second course, he has everything, and then he asks for doubles. Why? If you're asking, why are you asking for doubles? Why are you so much? He may actually tell you it's free. Why not? That may be the excuse why he's eating so much. If it's free, why not take it? He doesn't realize what it's doing to him. And it's not just the momentary pleasure, it's not just the momentary cravings, it becomes a habit. And a person, it gets used to doing this, he's always going to want it, he's always going to look for it. And you see these people, they're always the first to serve themselves also. It doesn't look good. Definitely not in public. It doesn't look good when a person, you've seen them, they take a plate and they put as much as they can fit on that plate, a whole big pile. I think it's ugly. It doesn't look right. Anyway, it shows a tremendous emphasis on basar, on ochel, which in the end has no to'elet whatsoever. Now with money, it's a little different. What's the difference between money and other ta'avot? With money, the rabbis tell us, Mi sheyesh lo maneh rotze matayim. Whoever has 100 wants 200. If somebody ever tells you, I only want to make $1 million, don't believe him. After he has his first million, he's going to want a second million. It's never ending. The word kesef in Hebrew comes from the root nichsaf. Nichsaf means to be eager, to be anxious towards something or towards someone. Nichsaf. So kesef comes from that word, that nichsaf. In other words, a person wants more of it and more of it. They even asked John Paul Getty once, the big billionaire, how much is enough? He says, just a little more. Just a little more. It's never ending. But what's the difference between kesef and ochel? Ochel, food, basar, you become stuffed. You can't continue to eat. With money, somehow you're continuing. So the rabbis tell us, don't think you can continue forever. Because the rabbis say, En adam met v'chatzita avato biyado. A person never leaves this world even with half of his ta'avot. What does it mean half? In other words, a person really has in mind a lot, and he never is able to accomplish not even half of everything that he really dreamt of acquiring. That's a simple meaning. But I also explained chatzita avato biyado, meaning about money, for example. Money has two ta'avot. The ta'avah, the desire to acquire it, to make the money, and then to enjoy it, to use it. That's the second part. Part one, part two. People barely get past part one. You think they ever have time to get to part two, to enjoy and to use all their money that they've acquired, all the millions of dollars? How are they going to use it? So I asked somebody that. He was trying to buy the lottery every single week, especially when it was a big pot. He says, what are you going to do with all the money? He says, first let me make it, then I'll tell you what I'll do with it. Let's worry about that later. And I told him, no, realistically, what could you do with all that money? People think, a lot of people's lives are miserable after they have made all the money in the lottery. They were happier before, their lives were more in order than now, after all that money, all the problems that came along with all that money. That we're going to see over here. So when it comes to food, there is, however, one way that one should deal with it. And that is what Mishlei tells us. Tzaddik ochel lesova nafsho. A tzaddik, a righteous man, the way he eats is the sova. The sova nafsho means to be satisfied. Or as they say in English, we eat to live. We don't live to eat. You see the difference? There are people out there who live to eat. Any opportunity you give them. We eat to live. So it's tzaddik ochel lesova nafsho. That means just to be satisfied. According to the Kabbalah, if you're having your favorite dish and you leave a little bit at the end and that you don't eat, you just leave a little bit, it's considered like a fast because it's so difficult. You have guys who are actually licking the dish. You're licking it. They love it. It's a favorite dish. What's your favorite dish? Korbe sabzi. Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were going to say something else. Yeah. Sirabi. Anyway. So you have your favorite dish and you leave a little bit. That means you held yourself back. It's very difficult. That's like a ta'anit. So if you want to do that, it's a good thing. And it trains us to hold ourselves back in general, not to overdo it. It's all a matter of getting used to it. How much do we eat? People today are really not good at managing their meals. They eat in between the meals, they eat snacks, they eat junk food. It's just everything is all over the place. And that is why there's so many all kinds of illnesses, especially with the fact that today's food contains so many artificial, what do they call them?
Preservatives.
Well, preservatives and all kinds of things that they put into it, that it's not the same. I mean, imagine living 100 years ago where everything was fresh and natural. Right? There was actually not even refrigeration and freezers. You actually You slaughtered, you did shahita to the meat, and you had to distribute it and sell it right away. And people used to eat it right away, fresh. It was always better. Now today things are frozen for several months.
Several years.
Several years, yeah.
My wife is working. She's working in the butcher.
Yeah.
She's a cashier.
Cashier, yeah.
Sometimes comes something for after.
It expired already. You mean the canned foods?
Yeah, not canned food. A lot of other meats, they come after the freezer for a long time and then they sell it.
Yeah. Well, some things that are frozen can be used.
Frozen.
Completely frozen, yeah. But if it's not, it's expired. It's against the law, to have to sell people that. So anyway, so Shlomo Melech in Mishneh tells us that a tzaddik ochel lesova nafsho. That's the way he deals with food. Lesova, to be just satisfied, to be healthy. The ubeten reshaim tehsar. The beten, the stomach of reshaim, is always wanting more. He's never happy, never content with whatever he ate. So you see the big difference between people in this one area called food. All right, we saw pretty much that ta'ava in general, the ta'ava of basar or the ta'ava of kesef, or any kinds of ta'ava, is ultimately not a good sign, not a good indication. If it's over, in other words, if it's an exaggerated form of ta'ava. But a regular ta'ava is normal. It's completely normal for a person to have. When a person is sick, he has no ta'ava to food, then it's a mitzvah to feed him. Then he has to eat. So ta'ava in itself is not a bad thing, as long as it's ta'ava, just normal ta'ava, to have things in a normal way. The system, our body is letting us know when we should eat. Otherwise, we wouldn't know when to eat. It would be in trouble. So the body has certain needs, but as long as those needs are taken care of in a healthy way, in a proper way, then it's fine. The problem over here is excesses. What he's going to be telling us over here is that the common denominator of all the ta'avot that are excesses is that a person thinks that they're going to bring him happiness and security. In the end, it's going to be just the opposite. It's going to bring him only aggravation and frustration. So, basar, we can understand. It could lead to health problems if a person overdoes it. What about nechasim? What about possessions? Marbe nechasim, marbe de'aga. Person that overdoes it with nechasim. He's always pursuing it. Baruch Hashem, he now has 500 units. Apartments. 500 units, I think, is a nice amount, no? I'm asking you, I don't know. I'm assuming. 500, no?
Yeah.
Let's say you have an average building of 16 or 30. That's at least almost, almost 50 buildings? What is it? No, not 50, I mean 30 something buildings, apartment buildings. Yeah. So that's pretty good. The problem is, marbe nechasim, the more nechasim, property, da marbe de'aga. De'aga is worry, anxiety, problems, tenants, right? Evictions, leaks, all kinds of issues, problems, lawsuits. Yeah, so of course you're going to have a managing company, but you're the, I think there's an English saying, you're where the buck stops.
That's right.
Something like that, It comes back to you. You're the landlord. So people will tell you, give me the 500 units, I'll deal with the problems. I'll take it. They want the money. They don't realize that it's the da'aga, all these things that bring da'aga, that bring worry and frustration in life, they ultimately take a toll on one's health also. Even if you can deal with it, most people cannot be calm 100%. It's going to be okay. That's a very, very special individual who's able to just be indifferent about it, not be touched by anything, and not worry about it. It takes tremendous nerves of steel to be able to handle that. And we're going to soon see how to handle it. A person who has Torah, of course, his whole attitude changes his philosophy about life is different, then he can deal with any situation in a much more positive way. But an average person, he has headaches. It's headaches. It's only headaches. Two people, imagine one person makes only $45,000-$50,000 a year. That's all he makes. He works hard. He only earns a certain amount of dollars per hour. His wife works a little bit. He doesn't own his own home. He has an apartment, especially these days, and we're going to buy, you're not going to qualify. So anyway, he has his life. Then you have another individual. I just heard of a woman who was making, what did they say? $60,000 an hour. An hour. Every hour she makes $60,000. Every hour, whatever business she had, there was a report that this person, based on how much she earns throughout the year, they figured it out. She was making $60,000 an hour. How much is that a day? Over $1 million, right?
How many hours does she work?
No. This is per hour. Every hour.
Of life,
no, every hour of the day.
Every hour of the day.
Yeah. So it's over $1 million, right?
Yeah, more than.
Every day.
Wow.
Okay. Is that a lot? No, not really. It's only $365 million, $380 million a year. There are people who make more than that. I gave you that as an example because per hour it sounds like a lot. It still is a lot, $365 million. I don't think anybody here is making that even as a maaser. Right? But anyway, so you have this man and woman, a couple of children. They don't even own their own apartment, their own house. And here you have an individual who's making $60,000 an hour. Who's happier? You look into their life, you'll see, most of the time, you'll see that the simple people who are not making that much money, as long as they have shalom bayit, of course, that there are no sick children and no chas v'shalom bigger issues, they're much more content. They don't have a home of their own. They don't own the whole house. So what? If you're a landlord, you own your own house, you have more expenses than the tenant does. You have property insurance, you have property taxes, you have a gardener if you live in Southern California, you have water bills, you have repairs. These 5 expenses a tenant doesn't have. So why do people buy homes? If you came here in the 60s or 70s, you were able to make a lot of money by buying a house because the homes appreciated a lot. It was a great investment. It still is, sometimes, depending where. But if you don't have appreciation of real estate, if it stays the same or it may go down, who's happier? The one who's renting, as long as he's not paying a lot for the rent, of course, because then he's throwing the money in the garbage. He's paying a reasonable, normal amount. He has to, the one who's a landlord has to deal with a lot more headaches, more issues. If he wants to take care of his house, he's got to paint it, there's termites, all kinds of issues that come up, all kinds of things. He has neighbors. A tenant can just pick himself up and move easily if he's not happy. It's a very, very different kind of life. When a person is a landlord, unless Baruch Hashem he has beracha and mazam l'shamayim, that's what it takes, then he has peace of mind. But otherwise, there's all kinds of things can go wrong. So, marbe nechasim, he didn't say about having 1 neches or 2. If you have a lot, what's going to come out from it? Marbe da'aga. Now, so why do people pursue it? Nothing wrong with having it if you inherited it. Nothing wrong with if you made a good investment. What he's talking about, the one who he's giving this advice to, is the one who dreams about it every day, who wants to pursue this. This is very important to him, and he's so disappointed that he's not there yet. He says, you'll be more disappointed when you get there than you are now. That's what he's saying. More disappointed later than you are now. That's what he means. So, Marbe Nechasim, when you get there, in Marbe Daga, you will see that it's not the way you thought it will be. That you'll be able to just retire and take it easy. No, now is all the problems are beginning because you became such a wealthy man. Now you have the problems that you never dreamt you will have them when you were not so wealthy. You didn't have them. What are some of those problems besides lawsuits? Anybody know what's one of the biggest worries that a rich man has besides lawsuits and problems and issues and things like that?
People come after their money.
Exactly. Yeah. People come after the money. Even in Iran? Even in Iran, yeah. They come after your money. They know you have money, they come after you. Very simple. So then you have to hire bodyguards, and you have to put bars, and you live in a prison. That's what it is. Yeah. And I know from Mexico and from South America, from some countries, that people who are very wealthy and are known to be wealthy in the Jewish community, there's always a danger that their kids may be kidnapped. You've heard the stories, no? For ransom. Yeah. Unfortunately, the mafia also did this in Italy. But they did it to non-Jews too. But unfortunately, it has happened to various families that I know in Mexico and in South America, where people were, and sometimes it's the police themselves who do it. You hire bodyguards, it's the bodyguards. So what do? In Mexico, they hire Israeli bodyguards. They don't trust the people of the country. Maybe there is a kombina, we call it in Israel. Maybe there is it's an inside job. Many times it's an inside job. They go, oh, he's not home. He went away on a big trip for 2 weeks. Best time to get into the home. They come and they take their time. They know where everything is because the maid told them. You don't think the maid knows people like that? Of course, her brother-in-law who knows another person. Best that they're all like that. We're going to talk about that soon. The greatest thieves come from certain in certain jobs, in certain occupations, you find them a lot, and you'll see why soon. So don't think that it's so beautiful and so nice and so calm and secure wherever there is lots of money and property possessions. No, that's on the contrary. That is where the bigger troubles are, the biggest sources of aggravation. So what happens in the end is these people who pursue this, the danger is not only that they will be unhappy and disappointed. Halevai, that was the only danger. The danger is you will be disappointed, you will not be so happy. Many times all of these aggravations, they actually shorten a person's life. They shorten a person's life. You know how many people got heart attacks because of these things? Yeah, heart attacks. It really, really... Imagine, chaz v'shalom, what you all know about without mentioning names. We won't mention names. It's not right to mention names. Sometimes it's lashon hara, depending on the situation. You gave somebody, let's take a normal amount, $3 million, your life savings. I don't know. It's a little bit more than the average life savings, but I know people who gave that kind of amount. That's why I'm giving this number. They gave somebody that you all know several $1 million, and because he was promising a high interest rate. And he gave it for I don't know how many years. But in the end, not only did he stop giving it, the money's not coming back. Now what? In Yiddish there's a saying, Moshe zich mich. In other words, go find me. In other words, what are you going to do to him? Especially if he hid this money. If if he's broke completely, so maybe some people will have pity on him. But if they suspect he has, that he took for himself and gave to his family members, that's terrible. He might be actually in danger. Somebody may be very, very upset at him. So anyway, who's the one that had here the ta'ava of kesef? The one that gave the interest and took the money, or the one that gave him the money? Both. Both. They both. Yeah. They both had the ta'ava. One wanted the high interest instead of putting it more secure in the bank. I'm not saying the banks are secure anymore today, but they're more secure than this thing. As the rabbis tell us, some investments are compared to iniach et kaspo al keren hatzvi. He left his money on the horn of a deer. It's an expression in the Gemara. The deer ran away. What kind of... don't they know the famous English saying, whatever sounds too good to be true cannot be true? Have you heard of that?
Yes.
It sounds too good, then it's not true. Didn't they teach it to you not in kindergarten, in 5th grade, in 10th grade? Didn't you know that? Yeah, but I thought he was a respectable person. He has a long beard. I said, that's why I would suspect him, because of his beard. It's usually the beard that disguises, and I would be suspicious. Anyway, people don't learn. Why don't they learn? Because of greed. That's all it is. They want to make money, quick, easy, and especially if they have money that is not reported. That's already a bigger problem. Money that's not reported. What are we going to do with it anyway? In Israel, there was a story about 3 years ago. There was a lady who used to stuff her cash in her mattress. In Israel, there's basically 2 places where you stuff your cash. 3 maybe, but 2 more. Either in your mattress or underneath the balata. You know what the balata is? One of the tiles in the one of the marble tiles. That's where they stuff it underneath it. It's called the balata. Either there or in the mattress. I think some put it in the freezer. Anyway, so that's what she started. And she had $1 million accumulated in her mattress. One day, her daughter surprised her. Mommy, for your birthday, I want you to come home. I want you to see what I bought you. She comes home and she sees in her bedroom a new mattress. She says, oh no, what did you do with my old one? Oh, I threw it out. The old one, who needs the old one? The daughter didn't know, she threw it out. So she went looking for it, and the garbage already had passed by, or maybe somebody took it. They don't know. So they went to the dump. Imagine they went to the dump. You know what it is? You know what a dump is? To look for the old man. They couldn't find it. Most likely, it wasn't in the garbage can. Most likely somebody saw a free mattress that was so-so, and they took it. And now, if they discovered the money, Baruch Hashem, the Beracha came to them. Hashem took it from her and gave it to her, or to whoever needed it. Greed, saving it. I mean, I don't blame people that they want to keep some things in a safe. They don't trust. I don't know. They could have gone through some trauma that they're not secured and they want to have the money with them. But all that money, so much money, you could have given tzedakah. What are you going to do with it? Eventually, use it. You're not taking it with you. So how much frustration did this bring her? Can you imagine? If she was Sephardic and not Ashkenazi, maybe she said kaparat avonot. The Sephardim are more used to saying kapara. Some Ashkenazi know also those. They say kapara. It depends on how you're brought up. If you understand that this is a kapara and you accept it properly, then maybe it will be easier to handle. But it's very, very difficult, very painful. And it's all about money, just money. So therefore, with Nechasim, the commentaries explain here that the reason why people have a problem is because they cannot easily adapt to this new life of having acquired all this money and having additional pressures that they didn't have before. And because of that, it can become very, very frustrating, and especially if there's a lot of disappointments, a lot of letdowns. And on top of that, what we just said, you have to feel, you have to be concerned about they may steal it from you. You may have armed gangs coming after you. That on top of everything else. Yeah. Then there's one more thing that we can't ignore, is that if people know you're wealthy, people will be looking at you, staring at you, and being jealous of you. They never looked at you. And perhaps we can add, they all want to be your friends. They're not true friends. But all that jealousy, all that ayn hara, right, is not something that we very much welcome. So if you do have something, it's always best to conceal it. You don't want people to know everything about you because it attracts the eyes of the envious of the people. And envy is not a good thing. But what can you? You can't stop people. You can't change people. People are envious. They don't know how hard you're going through a hard time. You're going through all kinds of struggle. They don't know those details. They just see you have a lot of money, right? The big house, bought yourself a new BMW or whatever, right? And people begin to ask, where did he get this money from? Yeah, and they talk, and people love to talk. So this is all because of the money, because of the Barbei Nechasim, that now brings about da'agot of all kinds. Next one. Marbe nashim, marbe cheshafim. Too many wives. The more and more wives, the more witchcraft in the house. No, but the first time a person learns this in Pirkei Avot, he says, what's going on here? What does kishuv have to do with women? Marben Nashim, in the olden days it was permissible to marry more than one wife. Today, one wife is too much for certain people, even one. But in those days, sometimes you marry two or more, there was jealousy between them, there was competition. It's normal. A man has two, they're going to fight. They're not always going to cooperate. Look at Sarah and Hagar. Even though she was the maid, but still, it wasn't so comfortable. So Rabbeinu Gershom, about 1,000 years ago in Europe, made a decree for all of the Ashkenazim. You cannot have more than one wife at a given time. He made additional decrees, but this was a decree that affected, for the most part, the Ashkenazim. The Sephardim did not hear of this, did not accept it. So in Morocco, in Iran also, in Israel, I mean, in Yemen, Iraq also probably. People occasionally did take more than one at the same time. But we can understand from Rabbeinu Gershom and from this Mishnah, which is even before Rabbeinu Gershom, that too many could lead to trouble. Now, why witchcraft? Because many times a woman, for some reason, was associated with witchcraft more than a man. Men also did all kinds of things to others, but most of the time, the ones who caused trouble through witchcraft, through the bechor, right, through all these kinds of things that they do, and through all kinds of methods, it was women. So this brought about trouble for the husband, because marbeh keshafim, he would be bringing into his house not only trouble of competition and strife, fighting, but also kishufim. Yeah, and some kishufim are very, very nasty, very, very nasty. People are not too familiar with it in the Western world, but to those who have had some exposure to it, it could be very nasty, depending on what kind of kishuf was done. It's very not good. Yes.
These necromancers,
No, necromancy is something else. No, I'm talking about witchcraft, like voodoo.
But it mentions that it's usually women that become later older in age and usually don't tend to become married, tend to become involved in witchcraft and sorts. Not so much. This is
what you're saying is something else, as an activity.
Even
if they're not married.
Yeah, especially when they get older.
That could be, yeah, but that could be. But here you have two women who are very angry at each other, and one woman says, "I'm going to get her back at her or at him for showing favoritism to her." So she may hurt her own husband through kishufim, and these things, unfortunately, have an effect. I know about it very, very well. I've had situations where people have come to me and I can see that they had this. You can even tell where it came from, and some of them are very complicated and very difficult to eliminate, to get rid of it. There are ways to eliminate sometimes. Some of them are very difficult, very difficult. Kishufim is a problem, but Baruch Hashem, we don't have it so often, so common here. But a man is going to be marrying more than one wife, he is inviting trouble. That's what Hillel is saying. Next one, marbeh shefachot, marbeh zima. Shefachot is maidservants. Too many maidservants. You know how they say in English that too many cooks spoil the soup or the stew or the broth? Yeah. Too many shefachot invites a different kind of trouble. It brings about a temptation for the master, for the owner of the home, to get involved with these goyot, with these shfachot, with these maids. And if you think that this is a little bit outlandish, just read through the history books of this country, and you will see that some of the presidents of the United States had children with their slaves. Why not have more slaves? So they abused them in a sense. They didn't really marry them, they just used them. So that's called marbeh shefachot, marbeh zima. Zima is prostitution, lewdness, right? This other form of ta'ava that I mentioned before, ta'ava for nashim, for women. And here, these are, he thinks, his property, so he can use it as he pleases. So by introducing them into the home, by increasing them, he's taking a chance. He's taking a risk. It's a challenge. He's only human. Right? Remember, these are his workers. Now, you think this is only shvachot? Let's take a look at the 21st century. Instead of shvachot, today you have something called a secretary. How many times have you heard of stories where the CEO or the I don't know, the main guy of the company threw out his wife and took his secretary instead? You heard? Yeah, it happens. That's also a form of shivcha. And sometimes for advancement, for the secretaries to advance to higher positions, they actually do whatever the boss says. So marbeh shefachot, marbeh zima. He's basically asking for trouble. And if he's smart, of course, he would take precautions that this should not happen. Yeah.
How about a nanny for the children? Is it considered the same thing, or it's not?
No.
But that happens a lot too.
There are halachot in Yehud of not being alone with a woman who's not your wife, behind closed doors, unless, of course, her husband is in town and it's during the day. Then it might be a little bit less of a problem because she's afraid. But if people are alone and this is somebody that you shouldn't be with, it's not a mother or a sister or a daughter or things like that, that there's always the chance, chas v'shalom, that the two may fall, make a mistake, and be involved in a way that is halachically wrong. So therefore, the halachot of Yichud are very, very important. Nobody should ever say it's not going to happen to me. Even if he's the biggest tzaddik of the generation, it can happen. The Gemara has various stories of incidents where this thing almost came. It almost happened. So therefore, here he says a person who's marbech shefachot is taking a big chance of arbeh zima. We said before that a person who exposes himself to all kinds of situations is going to make his personal situation much more complicated because of the new challenges that will come about. Whether it's money, whether it's nashim, whether it's shvachot, right? Any one of these poses a big challenge. But let's say he has it already. He has it already. What should he do? Here it's important to keep in mind the right perspective of everything. Let's take money as an example. He already has it. Now what? Should he throw it away? I mean, when a person already is in a situation and he didn't really pursue it, he's just in that situation, if his attitude is, not kochi ve'otzim yadi asul et kol ha'chayil hazeh, it is never through my intelligence or through my strength and my prowess was I be able to get all this wealth. Not the PhD, not my efforts. It's all mishamayim. Baruch Hashem, mishamayim. Hashem provided me baracha. If a person has the right attitude, the right perspective, outlook at his situation, the purpose of life, then he's in less danger because he's able to stay focused. What is the money for after all? Don't take it with you. You see how all of this helps. So if you are in a situation nonetheless, regardless of whichever challenge you have, it helps a lot to look at it in the right way and not to take a chance, of course, with the shefachot or with the nashim, but to be cautious and to look at it in a proper way. Then you could be helped. Then you could be saved from a lot of trouble. There's a very nice pasuk in Mishlei. Birchat Hashem hi ta'ashir v'lo yosif etzev ima. If the money comes as a beracha from Shamayim, they will never, that beracha of money never comes with etzev, with sadness and frustrations. Since it's a beracha and it's mishamayim, he will always be happy. In other words, it will not hurt him. If it's not a beracha mishamayim, it could be money given to him to test him. It could be money he got through an inheritance. It's not necessarily a beracha. Money that is not a beracha, by the way, does not stay in the family for too long. Money that's a beracha stays sometimes for several generations. There are families that you can trace them and you can see, wow, generation after generation, 5, 6, 7 generations, like the Rothschild family. They're all, that's rare. It's a beracha. It's not mazal. Nobody, a father and a son do not have the same mazal. Mazal is very unique to that individual. Everybody has their own mazal, their own qismat. Everyone, and it's not identical to at all to somebody else. Beracha, however, is beracha is within the family. It can go from one generation to another. Psh. That's how you know it's a beracha. Yeah.
That's in hindsight that you can see that. How does a person know in real time, reality?
Well, he knows because he was given the beracha. The Rothschild was given the beracha, the first one.
Say for an individual.
Yeah.
For myself.
Oh, we don't know. We don't know. You're right. That's a good point. We don't know because we learned it in Kohelet. Yesh osher ashamur leba'alav lera'ato. Sometimes wealth is given to an individual to his detriment. It will ruin his life. Once he got the money, that money now will ruin him. And Hashem gave it to him for whatever reason.
So there's no way to figure out if it's a problem.
There is. The only way you can figure it out is to see what that money is doing to you.
Okay.
Yeah. What's something? Baruch Hashem, you're able to manage it properly. You're able to distribute tzedakah with it. You're able to use it in a way that it does not interfere in your life. Then it could be either your mazal, it could still be mazal, or beracha. But it's not the other one, lera'ato. You see? There are people who have a good mazal. Whatever they touch turns to gold. You know people like that?
Yeah.
What's their name?
I cannot tell you, this is Lashon Hara. Really, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, they have this mazal. Mazal. You know, in Yiddish there's somebody called a shlumazel. Shlumazel. There's mazal, and there's shlumazel. Terrible.
What's a shulum?
I'll give you. There's two people in Yiddish. One is called a shlumiel, and one is called a shlumazel. What's a shlumiel? He's going down the hallway with a hot cup of Persian tea. Right? He's going down the hallway, and he spills it by mistake. He's a shlumiel. He dropped it. Who's the shlumazel? The one that has the tea coming down on him. He happened to be there at the wrong time. So he's the shlumil, he dropped it, he's the shlumazel for having fun. Anyway, there's all kinds of people. There are people who don't have mazal. Whatever they buy, they lose money. There's that too. You have all kinds of mazalot. You have in between, you have high, you have low. It's incredible. It's funny too sometimes to see it because you can tell. You can tell that it's mazal. And you can know in advance that it's going to repeat itself. So if you know somebody with a good mazal, go and invest with him. As long as he's an honest person, I'm talking about. Honest, he does things legally. You don't want to get yourself into trouble if he's illegal. He could be doing illegal things and have good mazal too. And that's why he's getting away with it. I'm talking about somebody who does everything kasher. And he has good mazal, be his partner. Because your mazal will become better. If you go with somebody whose mazal is bad, your money will go down the drain. So you want to be careful where you put your money, with who you put your money. Anyway, that's mazal. But birkat Hashem, itashir, that's real beracha, really gives prosperity without any etzev, without any aggravation. Next one. Marbe avadim, marbe gazel. You have too many avadim. Then you have the open challenge of having thievery, people stealing from you, people taking money from you. You know, imagine you're not at the store, at the business, and you hire several people to work the kupa. How do you say the kupa in English?
Cash register.
The cash register, thank you. You think he doesn't stick in anything in his pocket? Well, today they have cameras, so it's a little easier, to keep track. But even then, there's all kinds of ways to steal. People steal in all kinds of ways. They steal material, they steal things in the store, they steal copy paper. That's also gizem. You can't take it to your home. It's for the office use. Marbe avadim, marbe gazel. It doesn't have to be slaves. It could be servants. It could be employees. You're opening the chance to stealing, and you may lose 5 to 10% to people who didn't pay, to people who stole, who took stuff shoplifting, it's all kinds of things, all kinds of gizem. So when you have avadim that you're now watching over, you have too many to control, then just remember, listen, it doesn't mean you can't have it. Just don't feel bad if they steal from you, because it's expected that they're going to take from you. Unless you have a tremendous protection milimara. If you have tremendous protection, that's something else. But ordinarily, be careful. Because here, on the one hand, you want to have a lot of employees. You want to grow. Yeah, you are going to go, fine. But you're going to see that all that growth has a disadvantage too. They're going to steal from you. So that's what happens. That's a consequence of arbe avadim. Now, let's talk to the Eved for a moment. Why are you stealing? What do you think he's going to say? He was caught.
Underpaid.
Okay.
He feels that
He feels he's underpaid. What else?
he's rich anyway.
He's rich anyway. True, yeah. How do you know all these excuses?
So a lot of employees.
Yeah. Yeah, he's right. What else? It's okay to take from the rich to give to the poor. Isn't that, Rabbi, the boss is rich anyway. He won't even feel it. Here, this employee says, I'm having a hard, I'm struggling. Only this time, one time. I'm not going to take a second. All kinds of excuses, really. That's what it is. They try to justify it. Next, Marbe Torah, Marbe Chaim. This is the only, the following are the only ones that are good. You can have lots of it, and it's good. You're going to benefit from it. Marbe Torah, Marbe Chaim. We're not only talking about Torah that gives Chaim, Kiem Chayecha ve'orech yamecha. It lengthens a person's life. We're not only talking about that. What he says Marbe Chaim is because when a person learns Torah, he's able to see the design of the world. He's able to see the tachlit, to understand it a little bit better, the ultimate purpose and mission of life. He's able to see with a little bit more clarity what's going on, and not take things too personally, and not be aggravated or feel bad when somebody took his money. Why? It's mishamayim anyway. Nigzar kacha mishamayim. It was decreed so. Why should I feel bad? I made the money. Ma pitom, I made the money. Hashem decided this is how much money should be made. Rosh Hashanah. He signed. You see, if a person learns Torah, he knows these things. But a person who never learned Torah and was born in Karaj, you know where that is? I don't think you know. You know. Huh?
What?
Karaj. Karaj. You don't know where Karaj is? He knows.
In here, city?
Sure. You don't know where Karaj is?
Yeah, I know it.
He was born
Huh?
there. He was born there. Maybe.
It's close to Tehran.
Not too far, yeah. Or Kazvin.
Yeah, it is.
That one after. Oh, exactly. Right after it. Exactly.
Yes.
It's on the same freeway
Yes.
from Tehran.
Have you been there?
No.
You can't go.
What?
You can't go.
Of course. Not right now. I'm afraid of Kazvin especially. Anyway. Right? Somebody who grew up over there. No yeshiva, no Torah, no chokhmah. How should he know these things? All he knows is make money. Make money, work hard. And people used to work very hard. They used to go away from their families for several months sometimes till they came home. They're on the donkey or whatever. Very hard life. Well, just to make money. But Marbe Torah, Marbe Chaim, you sit down and learn Torah, his life is different. What a beautiful life. The whole house is different because of that. He looks at everything. Marriage is different. Parnassah is different. Children is different. The education is different. Different priorities. Different focus completely. That's what it's called. That's Chaim. It gives him life. Person who learns Torah, therefore, does not have to go through trial and error of what other people make mistakes in life, all kinds of issues. He knows the truth. Marbe yeshiva, marbe chokhmah. The more a person sits down and discusses the halakha, the Torah, marbe yeshiva. In other words, he sits down, he goes to learning. And yeshiva usually involves discussion with rabbis, discussion with students, discussions with chavruta, learning with somebody else. Then he's able to sharpen his mind. He's able to gain more clarity in his studies. So therefore, marbe yeshiva, marbe chokhmah. He will have more chokhmah. He will be able to understand things better. Because that's what yeshiva does. Learning in yeshiva, learning with people, one is able to learn a lot. Not much more than if he were to just be learning by himself with books. So it's important to go to a shiur. It's important to be marbeh b'yeshiva as much as possible, because all he will gain from this. He will gain chokhmah. And of course, the more a person learns Torah, the more siyata d'shmaya he will have, the more help from Shamayim he will have, the greater understanding he will have from whatever he's learning. There's a story of the Taz. The Taz was a very famous commentator in the Shulchan Aruch, who was of course a big Talmid Chacham, tzaddik. He had a yeshiva, he had students, and of course he was involved in learning all the time. Holy man, very, very learned man. And a woman came running to him while he was in a shiur with a very urgent request. Her son was very, very ill. She says, "What do you want me to do? I'm not a doctor." So she says, No. I understand you're not a doctor, but you learn Torah. The Torah, you're able to give berachot. She says, I'm not such a big tzaddik. He was a very humble person. But what I can do for you is I will give you the merit, the zechut of all the learning that we're learning now with the Bachurei Yeshiva. This learning that right now that we're doing should be for your refuah. A couple hours later, the child already was beginning to recover. Baruch Hashem. You see the koach of Torah, the zechut of Torah, the mitzvah of Torah, which is magna umatzla. She protects us, she saves us, she strengthens us against the Yetzirah. So many benefits of Torah. The more a person seeks advice, the more understanding he will have. In Yiddish there's a saying, Fragen sollst du fragen bei allem und tun sollst du tun mit deinem Kopf. To ask everybody, consult with everybody who's knowledgeable, of course, not just anybody from the street. Consult with people, but you do with your own head, with your own mind. In other words, don't let people decide for you. You're going to make the decision, but it's free. You're not paying $50 for the consultation, of course. Not necessarily. Ask people who know, who are knowledgeable. Ask for their advice. The more you seek advice, the more understanding you will have. The easier you will have. The easier time you'll have by making a decision. Because to decide on your own, a person may have a hard time. He may contemplate this way. He may hesitate. He may not know. We go sometimes to consult with various doctors' opinions for a major operation that is about to be performed, right? So you ask for 3 opinions, professionals, and then you're making a more educated decision. So marbeh etzah, seek the advice of the chachamim, seek the advice of those who know, so you will have more tevunah, more understanding. When a person seeks advice, it also shows that he's a chacham. He goes, I know better. No, he's a fool. He seeks the advice because he wants to make sure he knows he's going to do the right thing. So it's always a good idea, always, especially when it comes to major decisions in our life. Seek the advice before you do anything that's major. Marbeh tzedakah, marbeh shalom. Person who increases the amount of tzedakah, he's bringing about tremendous amount of peace. 2 kinds of peace. Peace for himself. They won't accuse him. He won't have any accusation from above. Peace down here below. Everybody will love him. He will have a good name. He will be looked at very, very positive and very nicely. He's not just wealthy, not just with money. He actually shares his wealth. This is a very, very special characteristic, that a person is able to share his wealth. Let me give you an example of 2 individuals who are called tzaddikim. And you will see a major difference between them. One is called a tzaddik in peltz. It's a Yiddish term, a tzaddik in a fur coat. What does that mean? Let's say it's very, very cold. It's a winter night. And you have people in your home, but you don't want to turn on the gas, the heater. So you put on a fur coat to keep warm. You're only he's a tzaddik in other words, he's only taking care of himself. He wants to protect himself. He wants to keep warm himself, and doesn't want to turn on the heat. So everybody should be warm. Marbeh tzedakah, marbeh shalom. right? You can't just be it all in it for yourself. Share it with others. Be in it for others. Share the warmth. Share the money. And that, of course, brings about shalom. It brings shalom to the world. It brings shalom to Am Yisrael, because when Am Yisrael is doing tzedakah with each other, they take care of each other. That shows achdut and unity. Hashem says, I'm not gonna do anything against them right now, because even though they unfortunately committed certain transgressions, but they're doing tzedakah, there's shalom between them. So tzedakah amongst Am Yisrael, which is exactly what's being done today, Baruch Hashem, should be done more. The generation before Mashiach, this is our merit, our zchut, is to increase shalom. It's to increase the tzedakah, therefore, because tzedakah is a means to bring about shalom. So that is also a positive effort. In other words, a positive effort of doing more as most as possible. Now, you don't want to give away all your money because you don't want to be poor. This is not to be taken in an exaggerated way. Give everything away. That you can't do. It's a surah. To just do it and to not limit yourself to a certain amount. Oh, I already gave it. I already gave enough. No such thing. It brings about very, very, very good results. Like the Rambam says, a person will never become poor from giving tzedakah. The tzedakah will never hurt him. As long as he does it in a proper way. No harm will come from it. And of course, it does bring shalom in the world, as the pasuk says, "Vayama aseh tzedakah shalom." The whole tzedakah will bring shalom to the world. So it's a beautiful midah. There's a story in the time of the Ari. During the time of the Ari, about 450 years ago, he was sitting with his students and he said, there's a big kitrug right now, a tremendous accusation right now, which is going to be very destructive to the city of Tzfat and the surroundings. Why? The accusation is coming because there's an individual in town who's so poor that nobody knows about his plight and his troubles, and nobody is helping him, that because of that, his cry is going to Shemaim and causing a tremendous kitrug, accusation on the city. So go right away, help him out with his needs, right? And ask him not to complain anymore to Shemaim, because they're listening to him. So they went to him. So the student went to see if this was true, if Dari what was saying was true. So he asked. So he found him. He found the man. He was crying. He says, "What are you crying?" He says, "Not only I don't have any money, but my only jug of water that I have to make a little bit of business, to draw water from the well, broke. So I don't even have money to replace that. So I shouldn't cry." He says, "You don't understand. All you're crying, what it's doing. It's causing a tremendous accusation. Here's some money, and keep your mouth shut." He told him in a nice way, "Don't cry anymore." He says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I won't cry anymore." And of course, from that day on, they took care of him. Anyway, as soon as that situation was taken care of, all of a sudden, Dari says, "Look to the Shemaim." They saw a whole bunch of locusts coming, an invasion of locusts. He says, "Don't worry about it." As soon as they approached the town, they made a U-turn and went away. See? We barely made it. He says they were going to come and destroy everything. Oh, you know what locust is? Malach. Yeah. Right? It was going to destroy and eat all the food. Baruch Hashem, at the last minute, we canceled the gezerah. That's how we have to be very careful with tzedakah. And last but not least, we have here kana shem tov, kana le'atzmo, a person who has acquired a good name. That is a real acquisition. That is something you take with you. That's something that you did on your own. That the mazal did not produce. The mazal can produce money. Mazal can produce possessions, wife, children. That's all mazal. All mazal. Shem tov, a good name, a good reputation, that the person does on his own. He makes the decisions. He decides how to behave, how to handle himself around people. Kana shem tov, kana latzmo. That's his own acquisition. That's what he takes with him. That is what he made. When you look at a person who has millions of dollars, you know what you're looking at? You're looking at what he has, not what he is. Look at the difference. You're looking at what he has, not what he is. A good name is what he is. And that's very, very different, much more important than what he has. And the last detail is kana lo divrei Torah, kana lo chayei olam haba. Torah is eternal. Torah is forever. Money is not forever. Money doesn't last. They can take it away from you. Kana lo divrei Torah, that's the ticket to chayei olam haba. That's ultimately what we want. That is ultimately what we should strive for, what we should make effort to get to. This is what we should spend our time. The problem today, in today's generation, is that people have a lot of time and they misuse the time. They don't use it for the right reasons. There's a famous story that I like to tell of a woman who wrote a letter to a newspaper. She has a big problem. Baruch Hashem, she has a good husband, and he's so generous to her. She doesn't need to work. He gives her 2 maids, but she just can't sleep. He snores the whole night, and because of his snoring, the whole following day she's nervous. But he's generous and he's nice, and he gave her 2 maids. And what should she do? So the newspaper editor sent her back a letter. Lady, do yourself a favor. Get rid of the maids. Do the work yourself. You'll be so tired you won't hear him snoring. Yeah. When a woman does not do any work, she has all the work being done for her, then she, well, of course, what's going to happen? She's not tired. Everything's going to bother her. Everyone has to be occupied. Resting, retiring, these are not concepts in Judaism. Judaism talks about the importance of contributing, doing something, volunteer, be involved in something. Not to just sit back and do nothing. Right? And also not to be overworked either, because then you won't have time for Torah. Then you won't have time for the real important things in life, for your children. Work isn't everything. Right? For some people, Avodai Hayenu. Work is our life. No, it's not supposed to be. You work a few hours, then you go to learn. You sit down in the morning, you sit down at night, you learn. That's what our life is all about. Then you have the other extreme. You have the extreme of people working so hard to make more and more money, going after the money, they don't want to rest. So let me tell you another story. With this will end. A very cute story, but a true story. I think they say it about one of the presidents of the United States who was visiting Florida. And he saw there a fisherman taking a siesta. You know what a siesta is? He's taking a nap. He says, young man, what are you doing taking a nap? He says, Baruch Hashem, thank God, I already caught my catch of the day. Why should I go back to work? You don't understand, young man. See, if you would work more hours, you can buy yourself another boat. So the fisherman asks this important man, and asked, what am I going to do with the second boat? You're going to catch more fish. You're going to make more money. He says, okay. What happens after I make more money? If you make more money, then you can buy yourself a bigger boat. Not one of these shmates, one of these rags. You can buy yourself a bigger boat. He says, yeah, but what am I going to do with the bigger boat? Well, a bigger boat. Then all the fish that you get, you can even process in the big boat. You don't have to send to another company. You can do it all yourself. You save so much money. He says, but what do I want to do that for? What? If you're able to process everything and you're able to fill your boat with more fish, then you can make a lot more money. He says, but what would I want to do that for? Well, you don't understand. If you make a lot more money, then you can retire early. He says, that's exactly what I'm doing now, sir. See? I'm already doing that now. That's why it's very misleading. People think they're going to retire, you can take it easy now too. Just make sure you're portioning your time properly. Just make sure that we remember to focus on the right things, that it's not so important to run after those things that are not necessarily going to bring us happiness. If anything, they may bring us more frustration. Don't be misled by certain things that they're going to make you more secure and stronger. Afuch. The Rabbi has warned us. All of these things, in the end, they're going to disappoint you. In the end, these things are not as promising as they appear. What is promising is a good name, of course, Torah, Shem Tov, Tzedakah. These things, of course, these are real earnings. These are earnings that are eternal. These are earnings that you take with us. And therefore, these are the things that we should spend the most time on. Thank you.